And we are here with you on Facebook Live, on facebook.com/live-now-DT, as well as on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. As you can see here, myself and Mike Sofka discussing fantasy football week 3 for the 2020-2021 season inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour. Not a Fantasy Football Power Hour, not one of the Fantasy Football Power Hours, but the one that you need to be paying attention to, the Fantasy Football Power Hour, powered by the Wildcat Sports Pub. We got Mike Sofka on the phone, and we're going to hop right into it because I know Mike's excited. I am too. Nobody has a bye week for the third week in a row, so let's get going. Mike, how are we doing today?
I'm doing awesome. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well, brother, and I appreciate your patience today. Unfortunately, we have to come in here and not give the best news to people, and that is the fact that not only are we dealing with injuries that we deal with every single season, but we are dealing with injuries to some of the most notable fantasy players, highly drafted players, guys that were supposed to have a strong season, the Saquon Barkleys of the world, the Christian McCaffreys of the world, the Cortland Suttons, and so on and so forth. Drew Lock is gone as well from Denver. I mean, we're losing starting players. We're losing guys on defenses like Nick Bosa. This has been a very treacherous first couple weeks of the NFL. What have you taken away from it?
Yeah, there's some question marks out there. One of the question marks I have is about the field conditions at MetLife Stadium. You got 4 San Francisco 49ers going down. The stadium, I don't even think it's 10 years old. 4 guys from one team go down, and poor San Francisco. Now, at least they're not flying back left coast. They're staying in West Virginia, but they got to play again this week at the same field. I don't know how many more guys they're going to lose. That stadium's been known to have nasty turf. And, the other injuries, you just rack that up to that's football, but you bring up a great point with the shortened preseason or no preseason, with the shortened training camps, no real OTAs, etc., not the normal up-ramp or ramping up of the football season for the players. So you see a lot of these lower extremity injuries, a lot of knees, a lot of hamstrings, and I put that back on 2 things. Number one, the conditioning and the getting ready for football or getting in football shape. And second, and not far from that, field conditions. I'm worried that because of the preseason, because who's to say it's the field though? Who's to say it's not the equipment managers if they don't have the right cleats on? These guys have different cleats for different lengths, and even on the turf they have different shoes too. So there's a bunch of things that can go into it, but I think the biggest things are indeed field conditions and the shortened preseason, the shortened training camps, the not being able to get into football shape with our bodies, our ligaments, our tendons, stretching things out, getting things ready.
Yeah, and that's a real issue. And for those of us for those of you that need kind of an update here, I'm going to run through it in alphabetical order really quickly here. I know that you got your pen and your pads ready. So for those of you that are listening on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, and for those of you that are watching on facebook.com/live-now-DT, now is the time to get your pens and pads ready to get these injuries and write them down. In case you don't know, I'm going to run through them quickly here so Mike and I don't have to do them during the assessment of each of these games as we go through them. Max Williams of the Arizona Cardinals is on injured reserve, looking to return week 6 at tight end for the Arizona Cardinals. For the Atlanta Falcons, we're looking at Julio Jones is questionable this week with a hamstring injury. Make sure that you watch that. Hamstrings can be those nagging injuries that sometimes are even worse than the ones that keep you out a little bit longer. Baltimore, nothing to write home about. As far as Buffalo goes, looking at Dawson Knox, he's questionable this week with a concussion at the tight end position for Buffalo. And then from there, we look to Carolina. Christian McCaffrey, a huge one here, out for week 3 at the Chargers. He's expected to return in week 6. It's not season-ending, God willing, and God bless that. But Christian McCaffrey, the number 1 overall fantasy player, not just running back, but consensus number 1 that Mike and I have been telling you for probably since the end of last season into this season. He's going to be out until week 6. Obviously, don't drop him, but make plans to move forward without him for a few weeks. Outside of that, Chicago, nothing to write home about. C.J. Uzomah for tight end for Cincinnati. He is on injured reserve now. So you have to look at in Cincinnati's backups. They don't have Tyler Eifert or Tyler Kroft anymore. So that's something that they're going to have to assess. David Njoku for the Cleveland Browns, MCL injury. Expect to return is week 5. He had himself what looked to be a very nice week 1 start, but has been out and will be out until week 5, and hopefully will be able to return. Dallas's DeMarcus Lawrence is questionable on the defensive side, defensive end with a knee injury right now. Tyron Smith, their offensive tackle, is questionable for week 3's game. Blake Jarwin, tight end, is on injured reserve for the Dallas Cowboys. Also on injured reserve is Sean Lee, who unfortunately seems to get injured every season for Dallas. At linebacker, his expected return is week 7. Cortland Sutton, a wide receiver for Denver, is on injured reserve. Drew Lock is expected to return week 5, but right now he's out with a shoulder injury for week 3 when they're going to go on and face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and quarterback Tom Brady, who just got his first win as a Buck. Philip Lindsay is doubtful with a toe injury for this week 3 game at running back for Denver. Detroit, Kenny Golladay is questionable with a hamstring injury at wide receiver. So that's something to look to. Injured reserve, expect to return week 4 for Bo Scarborough at running back in that loaded backfield for Detroit. Green Bay's notables here. Devontae Adams' hamstring injury has left him questionable at wide receiver. And then for Houston, Duke Johnson Jr. is questionable, running back with an ankle injury for this upcoming week. For Indianapolis, we're looking at Paris Campbell. He's on injured reserve with a knee and MCL injury. Expect to return is week 6. Jack Doyle is questionable at tight end with an ankle injury. Marlon Mack with his Achilles injury is on injured reserve for the Colts. So they got a lot of injuries already. Also on injured reserve, Trey Burton, tight end with a calf injury, who won a Super Bowl with Philadelphia, throwing a touchdown to Nick Foles against the Patriots. His expected return is week 4. Mike knows him well for being a Gator. Jacksonville's kicker is a limited participant in practice so far early this week with a hip injury, Josh Lambo. DJ Chark was limited with a chest injury at wide receiver. He's the number 1 target for Gardner Minshew, so that's something to look at. Injured reserve, COVID-19 illness, as Raquel Armstead is still on that list at running back. On injured reserve is Josh Oliver for the 2nd year in a row at tight end for Jacksonville. A lot of guys to go through. Darrell Williams, a questionable ankle injury for Kansas City with a running back position. He's questionable. Sammy Watkins has a head injury, which has left him questionable at wide receiver. For the Las Vegas Raiders, really nothing to write home about. Marcus Mariota should be back as a backup quarterback in week 4 from a pectoral injury. For the Chargers, Justin Jackson's quad injury has left him questionable at running back. Tyrod Taylor's chest injury has left him questionable, which saw us see Justin Herbert almost pull off an upset of Kansas City this last week. The LA Rams' Cam Akers is questionable with a rib injury. Malcolm Brown has a finger injury that's left him questionable. Miami, as far as they go, Devontae Parker limited with a hamstring injury at wide receiver. Minnesota, really nothing to write home about at Minnesota. For New England, we have a questionable personal with James White with the death of his father. And then to look at, and obviously I send my prayers and my well wishes to the White family. I know that Mike and I both do. Damien Harris, finger injuries on injured reserve. Week 4 could be coming back, is expected to return at running back. For New Orleans, really nothing to write home about. The knee ACL injury for Kiko Alonso has him returning week 8, and he's on the PUP list right now for outside linebacker for the New Orleans Saints. For the Giants, Sterling Shepard is doubtful for week 3. Saquon Barkley's on injured reserve with a knee ACL. Shepard has a toe injury that's leaving him quite doubtful for the game. Outside of that, the Jets, Joe Flacco's questionable with a neck injury. Jamison Crowder at wide receiver has a hamstring injury that's left him questionable for the game. Chris Hogan is questionable at wide receiver for a rib injury. Rashard Perryman has an ankle injury that's left him questionable. Le'Veon Bell is expected to return week 5 with a hamstring injury on injured reserve currently. For Philadelphia, Alshon Jeffrey has a foot injury that's left him out at wide receiver, and nothing else for Philadelphia. For Pittsburgh, nothing to write home about. Deontay Johnson, toe injuries left him questionable at wide receiver. For San Francisco, the list is long and vast here. Tevin Coleman, doubtful with a knee injury at running back. George Kittle is questionable this week with an MCL injury at tight end. Raheem Mostert is questionable or doubtful this game with an MCL injury as well. Jimmy Garoppolo is questionable with an ankle injury for this game. Richie James at wide receiver is on injured reserve with hamstring. Expect to return week 5. Richard Sherman, calf injury, injured reserve. Expected return week 5. Tavon Austin, wide receiver, knee injury, injured reserve. Expected return week 4. Nick Bosa out for this week, ACL injury at defensive end. All of that's for San Francisco. And then Philip Dorsett could be returning week 7. He's on injured reserve with a foot injury at wide receiver for Seattle. So much to go through. Rashad Penny, running back for Seattle, PUP list, could be returning week 8 with an ACL injury. For Tampa, nothing to write home about. For Tennessee, Darrington Evans is questionable with a hamstring injury at running back. And outside of that, nothing there. And for the Washington football team, they don't have really anything to worry about except for injured reserve tight end Thaddeus Moss. So, Mike, I feel like I just took up 97% of the show just reading off the dang injuries. What are your thoughts on hearing that long list and hearing injured reserve for a bunch of these players?
It's a part of the game more than anything. I mean, it's going to happen. It's math. 33% of the starting quarterbacks go down every year, so you need to have a plan for that. It comes down to it. Math is math, and it's unfortunate, but that's the game. We do what we can do to protect the players, but this year being an off year, I'm not going to make any excuses for anything. But this is why you got to be an astute fantasy football manager. If you're going to manage a team, I'll give you an example. James White, this past Sunday, tragic passing of his father and mother in critical condition after an automobile accident. Not many people knew about that until kickoff. James White was fine. Everything was fine. Everybody was fine. And a lot of fantasy players are like, oh, it's the Sunday night game. I'll be okay. Everybody checked out. The only guys I have in my lineup from New England is that, you know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, I'm fine. And then as they're kicking off the ball, they're like, and James White is out. And, you're sitting there like, oh, my gosh, so don't take anything for granted. Back in the day, before computers and before we did a lot of stuff, we used to joke each other as fantasy football managers and call each other up on the phone, the landline, if you remember what those are, and you'd call each other up on the phone and go, hey, I got bad news. Jim Everett, remember that name? Jim Everett just stepped off the team bus and twisted his ankle. He's out for the game, and the game starts in 5 minutes. You don't have the information. You don't have the ability. So get yourself prepared. Get yourself in a habit. The injury reports for the 1 o'clock games come out at 11:30. The injury reports for the 4 o'clock games come out at 2:30. The injury reports for the 8 o'clock games come out at 6:30. Make sure you double check those things. You never know what's going to happen. And again, condolences and prayers to the White family. And I hope James, bounces back from this. But it is what it is. This goes to show you that the players indeed are human as well.
Yeah, they are definitely human in the grand scheme of things, and this is something that, you have to look to and understand and know with these injuries coming up. You got to get on that waiver wire, and you got to get into free agency. Mike, let's get started in our roundabout here. For everybody that is watching, you know that we have a big board that we put up, and we started this big board here for you this season. We're happy to put it up for you. It gives me an opportunity to let you exactly know what part of the show we are into. So if you have to jump to a game and you got to pick up a team really quick, we're going to do it in order. So whatever team you see to the far left of the screen on the top is Thursday Night Football. Then it's 1 o'clock games going into 4 o'clock games, and then all the way to the right side of the screen, Sunday night, Monday night. So if you need to figure out where we are in the show or you need to figure out where to go, it tells you that the top left of the screen is toward the beginning. The bottom right is right at the end of the show. So that'll help you just have a little easier way, kind of a subtle way for you to get to the games you need to get to. We also circle them as we go. So you'll see me circle the game. So where we are in it will also show where you need to go. So just easy ways for you to kind of get ahead here if you got to get to a game quickly that we want to make it easier for you in crunch time. We're going to start with the Miami Dolphins at the Jacksonville Jaguars for Thursday Night Football. Mike, what do you have for this?
Yeah, I like Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's funny. I like the lead into this game. I like NFL Network, they did a thing asking Fitzpatrick about the mustache, and they did a thing asking Minshew about the beard. And, Fitzpatrick was classy as usual, but, he talked about the beard, and he said some guys can't grow beards. I guess he was kind of insinuating that maybe Minshew couldn't grow a beard. It would be patchy and spotty were the words he used. So Minshew said that might be the case if he grew a beard. He's going to stick with the mustache. And as far as Fitzpatrick, he's going to reserve comment because he was always taught to respect his elders, which I thought was hilarious. So I'm excited for this Sunshine State showdown here. I think it's going to be an excellent game. I do like Jacksonville a little more in this game than Miami, but let me jump into it here. Fitzpatrick's the number 11 ranked quarterback on my rankings this week. I'm not really counting on any of the running backs in Miami. Maybe Myles Gaskin looks like he's going to get the lion's share of the carries there. He's number 26 on my rankings. Devontae Parker, number 29 on my rankings. Preston Williams, a distant 46. And Mike Gesicki is the real pass option. He's the real receiving option there. He's number 8 on the tight end rankings this week. Jumping over to Jacksonville, Garner Minshew ranks slightly higher than Fitzpatrick at 8. I like the air raid attack. They showed last week they can keep up with a up tempo, with a score fest, with a high scoring game, and that Jay Gruden offense can do that, and they definitely have the receiver weapons. James Robinson's been doing a wonderful job, as good as he can for an undrafted rookie starting running back in the NFL. Number 16 ranked running back on my rankings. The receivers, 33 for Chark and 48 for Keelan Cole. He seems to be the red zone guy, so look out for that. And Tyler Eifert, 26. So not a lot of fantasy value here. Maybe Gesicki, maybe Minshew. I'll tell you what, I would definitely start Minshew over a bunch of quarterbacks. I would start Minshew, obviously, over 24 of the quarterbacks. But I'm talking notable names like Matt Ryan, Deshaun Watson, Ben Roethlisberger, Carson Wentz, Drew Brees. I would start Minshew before any of those guys, so he's an excellent daily play as well. In this game, I got Jacksonville edging out the Dolphins by 4. I think they're gonna win the game, and they're going to cover the spread.
Yeah, I have in this matchup, I think that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to get a victory. I mean, listen, they played up against the Tennessee Titans, and they did it in such a big way. The way that they played against them 33-30, and if not for a tip pass right there at the line of scrimmage, we could be talking about an overtime game, maybe another Gardner Minshew comeback. This man has led so many almost comebacks as well as comeback opportunities, comebacks in his just a couple seasons in the NFL. I give him a lot of credit. He's an unsung hero. And we will look back at his career, hopefully after he's played 15 years in the NFL, and hopefully all for Jacksonville, and they've gotten some wins and some positivity. When we look back on these moments, I really do want to look back on him as a comeback quarterback and potentially one of the best ones in the modern era because he never, ever gives up. He stays positive. I love his energy. I love his fight. And if they could do what they did to Tennessee and they could beat the Colts, I'm not worried about the Miami Dolphins coming into town. Fitz on the other side of this, he could do some things and, maybe help you out a little bit, but I don't trust him as your fantasy quarterback this week. I think Jacksonville's defense is going to be able to harass him. I think Jacksonville's defense and special teams is worth the play. Mike and I talked about Myles Gaskin, picked at the end of the draft a couple of years ago, and now he's the starter. I don't think Mike's surprised. I don't think I'm surprised. He could be a flex guy for you in an emergency situation due to injury, but outside of you having to dig deep, I don't think you should have to dig all the way to that situation. But if you do, he could get you, a sneaky touchdown there. Mike Gesicki might be able to get you a touchdown as well in this matchup. Devontae Parker, as we had mentioned, is injured right now and limited, so you have to watch that one. Preston Williams is somebody to look to as a potential flex. On the other side for Jacksonville, I would play Gardner Minshew in this game. James Robinson is definitely worth the play. 164 rushing yards in the first 2 weeks is the most ever by a Jacksonville player in their first 2 games. So that's more than Fred Taylor, Maurice Jones-Drew, and Leonard Fournette. Shout out to James Robinson, an undrafted free agent out of Illinois State. Let's go. So I would definitely look at James Robinson. Chris Thompson, he's been quiet. I could say that maybe in this game he's going to get you a little flex touchdown. Maybe he'll get you 7 yards, but he could get you a touchdown in this matchup. Could be a rushing one, or it could be, a short pass or something of that nature. Tyler Eifert was able to pull down, or actually I think Chris Thompson did score this past week, so my apologies on that. But Thompson is somebody to look to in this game as a flex. Tyler Eifert, if you play 2 tight ends, not a bad second one for you to have in this matchup, and he scored his first Jacksonville touchdown this past week. So the former Jay Gruden connections are connecting with Gardner Minshew. That's good stuff. Laviska Shenault is somebody to look to in this game as a wide receiver to put out there. If DJ Chark is playing, you need to play him. Laviska Shenault, if DJ's not playing, that ups the ante on Laviska. It ups the ante on Keelan Cole as well. But if DJ is playing, I still look to Laviska Shenault as a potential flex player for you. And like I said, play their defense. I'm going with Jacksonville in the matchup. Next one up on the board, Mike, you and I have the opportunity to speak on our first Sunday 1 o'clock game, and that is going to be Chicago at Atlanta. And I had just said to one of my buddies, you play fantasy football, so games that are boring like Chicago and Atlanta can actually be a game you want to watch. And then ironically, here's the game. What do you have for this one?
Yeah, I think you look at these teams and you wonder, how are the Bears 2-0 and how are the Falcons 0-2? Neither here nor there. Could the coach situation in Atlanta, could there be a hot seat there? I know there's a hot seat in Detroit already, but it might come down to a game or two here, and it looked like he was on a hot seat again last year, so hopefully Atlanta can bail this situation out. I like Atlanta's team. I think they have a lot of great pieces. Hopefully they can put it all together. As the home team, they're going to have a little bit of an advantage. That Bears defense, though, is something else. Matt Ryan should be able to take care of some of that Bears defense. He's a number 9 ranked quarterback on my ranking. Todd Gurley, number 22. This is where the value is. This is where the money is. The receivers on Atlanta. Julio Jones, ranked number 7. Calvin Ridley, number 5. I never thought I'd be saying that on a consistent basis, Ridley over Jones. But I think Ridley's more that red zone threat. Jones more that breakaway threat. Hayden Hurst, he's starting to climb up there a little bit. Number 13 on the tight end rankings. I know people expected a big year from him. You got to be patient. Remember, there's no preseason. There's new relationships. It's timing on passing routes, even with the tight end. I still have confidence in Hayden Hurst. Don't give up on him. You look at Chicago. I got question marks all over the field. One of them is on the quarterback, Mitch Trubisky, yet somehow, some way, they're getting it done. So you're not going to argue with success or winning. He's the number 22 ranked quarterback on my rankings. David Montgomery seems to have overcome that groin injury from preseason. David Montgomery, 25 on my rankings. Allen Robinson is where the money's at. Number 9 ranked receiver. He's the only receiver of note to start, to even consider playing. The other guys are just way out there. And Jimmy Graham, he's an occasional touchdown guy. I think they're going to grow to get comfortable with him at the tight end position. I think he's going to be a better red zone target. Right now, he's number 21 on my rankings this week. I have Atlanta winning a close one at home.
Yeah, I think that, and like I said, this game in the past would have been more boring, like a 7-3 or a 13-10 type of game. I think I remember it. It's just a bitter taste of seeing this game on Fox one of the weeks where I was like, why is this the game that they chose to put on Fox? And I think it was like 7-3, and it was just such a boring game. But, Atlanta with Matt Ryan, I said this could be a resurgent year for him, and I do believe that, it is one of those years where he could definitely see himself start to elevate and to come back here a little bit. I think fantasy-wise, it's more exciting for us to watch this. Chicago's waking up a little bit, and like Mike said, who the heck thought that Chicago was going to be where they are right now with the record that they have right now? So shout out to them, 2-0. Falcons 0-2. On Chicago's side of it, playing the Falcons, I don't trust their defense. So if you can play 2 quarterbacks, then Mitch would be your second quarterback to put out there. I'm okay with that. I would love the opportunity if you had like an Aaron Rodgers, Gardner Minshew in a league where you could play 2 quarterbacks, or you had Lamar Jackson and Gardner Minshew, because a lot of people probably left Gardner off their list. David Montgomery, because he's playing this defense, I put him as a low-end running back 2, high-end running back 3. Allen Robinson, I'm not sold on him by any stretch of the imagination, but I think, if it's true that he's trying to get more money in a longer-term deal, he's got to showcase himself. Him and Anthony Miller against this defense are a good flex option or wide receiver 3, in my opinion. Jimmy Graham coming in here, That's another guy to look at as a low-end tight end in this. I basically feel higher on their receiving core, including Jimmy Graham, in this game because they're playing Atlanta's defense. On Atlanta and Chicago, I would stay away from their defense and special teams because I think Atlanta can score enough points, and I think they can shoot you out a little bit, so I wouldn't mess with that. Todd Gurley, I'd temper it down a little bit to a running back, too, because he's playing Chicago's defense. Julio Jones, if he plays, is worth putting out there. Obviously, we put him on the injury report. He's questionable for this game. Kelvin Ridley, his stock goes up if Julian's goes down. Russell Gage as well as a flex guy, an emergency guy for you. And Hayden Hurst, somebody else that you should put out there. I'm going to give the win to Atlanta at home. I think they'll get their first victory, but I'm surprised. I thought Chicago, I gave them some credit this year, and I said I think they'll win with their defense. And, dang it, I mean, their offense has looked a little bit better in week one, and, we look at the fact that they're 2-0 right now, so not too shabby for the Chicago Bears. Moving on to the next piece inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. We have the Rams visiting the Bills. What do you have for this, Mike?
Yeah, I'm real excited to watch this game. This game has it all. They're 2-0 teams coming together. I think Buffalo's been playing really well. With that being said, the Rams, I got Jared Goff, the number 18 quarterback on my rankings. This is where they got question marks, is at the running back situation. Malcolm Brown dinged up with a finger, says he's going to give it a go. His list is questionable. Darrell Henderson looked like he was actually getting some time. And the other part of that three-headed monster, Cam Akers, has some cartilage separation in the ribs. He's questionable. They may push him through, but he's a young. Why do that if you don't have to? Wide receiver, Cooper Kupp, number 18 on the rankings. Robert Woods, number 14. And Tyler Higbee seems to be a touchdown machine and a red zone threat. Tyler Higbee, number 9 ranked tight end on my rankings. Over to Buffalo, Josh Allen. He's been playing lights out. He can pass the ball. He can run the ball. He's putting himself into MVP consideration early on. Number 6 quarterback on my ranking. The running back situation, do all of everything. So I got Singletary at 24 and Moss at 42 this week. On the wide receiver, Stefan Diggs, number 16 on the rankings. And then you got to drop way down to 37 for John Brown at 52 for Cole Beasley. And the tight ends, Meyer and Muck here again, Knox and Croft, 39 and 38 on my rankings. That being said, I think the better team here is going to be the home team. Even if this was on a neutral site, I would pick Buffalo to win this game. I like both teams. I like the weapons on both teams. I think it's going to be an excellent game, but I'm going to go with Buffalo at home.
I find it interesting, Mike, that, you go in Buffalo. I think this Rams defense is very, very strong, but, the reality of it all is this Buffalo Bills team is supposed to be something special this year, and I think that this is the year that they are going to come through with that and showcase that they truly are something special. And one of these wins that would be a really big one to look back on because of the defense they're playing with the talent of the Aaron Donalds and the Jalen Ramseys is to win this game at home in Buffalo. And I believe, and I agree with you, that Buffalo is going to do it. Now, I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a 17-20 style game. But when we look at this on the side of the Rams first, as far as talent goes, I would tell you fantasy-wise, Jared Goff, I'd stay away from him in this game. Malcolm Brown, as we said, is questionable with a finger injury. Cam Akers has been hurt too. This could be Darrell Henderson's opportunity to do something to give him some hopeful time in the future. This could be another pitch to Sean McVay and this team that he deserves to be on the field and he should be on the field. So he is a flex player for you this week, Darrell Henderson, and just somebody to kind of look to if you need someone in emergency. He's probably out there in free agency because he didn't really do much of anything last year. And mind you, I've talked to you about him numerous times. There's a lot of Memphis players in the NFL of recent history. Darrell Henderson is no slouch. He's nobody. I don't think he's going to stay down forever. This could be the week where he really does some good things. But Buffalo has a good defense as well, so you have to be wary of that. Cooper Kupp is worth putting out there in this game, but I have him as a low-end 1, high-end 2. Robert Woods is playing his old team. I have him as a low-end 1, high-end 2 as well. If I had to choose between the two of them, I'd probably choose Woods over Kupp this week because there's something about going back and playing your old team. Tyler Higbee, not too high on him in this game. On the other side of it for the Buffalo Bills, I think that this is going to be a game that's won in the trenches. So I think, running the ball is actually better served for you than passing. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, neither one of them is a running back 1 for me. Singletary is a 2, Moss is a 3. But either one of them, I think, could score for you this week. So those are the ones to circle. Stefan Diggs, I got him as a low-end 1, high-end 2 because of the defense he's playing. And if he's going to see Jalen Ramsey, this could open up some opportunities for John Brown, who's a flex player for you this week. I think it's a 17-20 game. I think the defenses and the special teams both need to be played in this. Josh Allen is probably not the week for, to play him at quarterback. I know he's had 300 and 400 yards. I have him as a low-end 1 just to give myself a safety blanket. I don't think you should play him as one of your top options this week. But if he's on your team and you don't have Pat Mahomes and you don't have Lamar Jackson and you don't have Russell Wilson and some of those guys, then yes, I would still play Josh Allen. I would just temper your expectations because of the defense he's going up against. But this is a game where he can really showcase himself and show, can he beat defenses like this? And if he can, well, then maybe he needs to call Dak and say, hey, Dak, I'm a $33 million quarterback. You're under me. So Josh Allen, I don't think it's the best week, but I don't think it's a terrible week, especially because he's been trending up. This is a big time for him to show himself and what he can do against strong defenses and people like Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. I got Buffalo winning. I think it's going to be one in the trenches. I like the defense and special teams. I like the running game of Buffalo more than the Rams, but I think it could be a good day for Darrell Henderson. And I wouldn't expect too much from the pass, but there's going to be something from the pass that's out there. Mike, next one we have up on the docket here is the Washington football team, which Dan Snyder said may stay the name of the team if it trends well. And so I guess maybe the best name for Washington is to have no name, right? Cleveland is the team that they're going up against. What do you have for the Washington football team going up against the team that left and then came back to the NFL?
Yeah, it's kind of weird what's going on with Washington. They got a lot of problems everywhere, and they looks to me like they still have problems on the field. Now, I know both teams are 1-1 coming into this. Both teams have underwhelmed on many levels, in my opinion. I think the Washington football team has to start doing something, and that something can start with Dwayne Haskins, but I don't think it's going to be this week. I think he's going to be under a lot of pressure from that stout defensive line from Cleveland. I think Dwayne Haskins, number 30 ranked quarterback on my rankings. Antonio Gibson, this is his mark. This is where he's going to start to pull away from the other running backs and show a difference in himself. I was a bit surprised that Bryce Love was a healthy scratch both weeks. J.D. McKissick and Peyton Barber are doing a little bit, but it's all going to be Antonio Gibson. He's got the breakaway speed. He's got that youth behind him. He looks like the guy to own there, obviously, number 28 on my rankings. Terry McLaurin, he's the guy to own on the wide receiver end for Washington. He's number 20, but look for Steven Sims. I got him as a flex play this week, but he seems to keep popping up and keep showing up, so keep your eye on Steven Sims. Logan Thomas, number 15 ranked tight end on my rankings this week. Going over to Cleveland, again, I think this is where the game could be won is on the defensive line, so I'm going to give them the edge there. But looking at the offense, Baker Mayfield, not much better than Haskins at 26 on my rankings. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, this ain't thunder and lightning. This is lightning and lightning. Both these guys got moves, speed. They can both catch the ball. Kareem Hunt ranked 17, Chubb ranked 18. I know Chubb's the starter there, but both guys are magical when they touch the ball. Can take it to the house for 6 at any given play. Odell Beckham, a struggle to get the ball to him. At times it looks like Baker's been forcing the ball to him. Beckham, number 22 on the rankings, and Jarvis Landry's falling like a rock everywhere. Keep your eye on him. Keep your eye on him on the waiver wire. Some of the talking heads on TV are saying you can drop him. I wouldn't drop him, but I would keep an eye out for an owner that does drop him, and I may consider dropping one of my lower-end guys on my bench to pick him up there's no telling when this guy's going to catch fire. Austin Hooper, number 20, ranks tight end on my rankings. I like Cleveland. I think this game's going to be won in the ditch, and I think Cleveland's going to win by a touchdown.
Weren't we waiting for this moment to emerge when we could see, like Mike said and put so eloquently, lightning and lightning, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb? Who do you choose? Well, on this team, you can have both. And you know what's great about it? Baker Mayfield doesn't have to be involved at all. All he's got to do is hand the ball off. Because when it comes to getting it out to the receivers and letting this talent of Cleveland, the Jarvis Landrys and the Odell Beckhams and the Austin Hoopers and the David Njokus when he's healthy and so on and so forth, when it comes to that, they rely on Baker. Well, you could have anybody hand the ball off to Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, and they're going to do some great things with it. That's why I think you're seeing success, and that's why that's a bright spot on this team that we thought would happen maybe a little bit sooner. But Kareem Hunt, now that he's been with the team for a season, he can move forward with them. And right now, as a fantasy owner, you can be happy with either one of those guys. On Washington's side of the ball, Antonio Gibson. He's a rookie, another guy from Memphis, another awesome running back from Memphis. These guys are sometimes in the backfield 3 deep with one another, and then they fight for that starting job, and they get that opportunity, and then they see all each other. They see everybody in the NFL. They get to see their teammates again. This is a talented guy. I think this is a good opportunity for you to play him. I got him as a low-end running back, too, a flex position for you. Logan Thomas, I'm not sold on. Jeremy Sprinkle could be another sneaky guy here. Watch both of them to see what happens this week against Cleveland, whose defense I don't trust. Terry McLaurin, he's a flex player for me. Dwayne Haskins, I wouldn't put out there. For the Cleveland Browns, coming off of a game where they went and they had to score 30-plus against Cincinnati, it does not matter who the head coach is of Cleveland or Cincinnati. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is of Cleveland or Cincinnati. When you put them in a matchup, especially a primetime matchup, they tend to score 30-plus points on each other, no matter who it is or when it is in recent history. Well, Baker in this game is playing Washington's defense. He's going to get harassed a little bit. So lean on Nick Chubb and lean on Kareem Hunt. Odell Beckham, it's hard to keep him off the field, but he's a wide receiver, low-end 1, high-end 2 for me this week because of the fact that Baker is going to get rushed, and I'm not sold on Baker Mayfield. Austin Hooper, he's a tight end 2 because of that situation. It's Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and a whole lot of daylight. If they can get past Chase Young and company, it's going to be a party out there. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, a great lightning and lightning, as Mike put it so well this morning. I'm taking Cleveland at home. Next one that we have up on this, Mike, is for us to get into the matchup between the Tennessee Titans and the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. What do you have for this?
Yeah, you know, when they evaluate young baseball talent coming out of high school, some guys are called phenoms. They're the cream of the crop. They're the top of the top. They're the 0.001% of the draft class. I'll give you an example. Mike Trout, phenom. He has it. Bryce Harper, phenom. He has it. Tennessee has it. You can't quite put your finger on it. You can't quite tell me what it is in 10 words or less. But Tennessee has it. They're winning games. They're not flashy. They don't have that one magical, well, maybe they do have one magical guy in Derrick Henry. What I'm saying is, as a team, collectively, they have it. They've got lightning in a bottle here, and you saw that last year when they sent the Ravens home packing early from the playoffs. Tennessee at 2-0, the Vikings at 0-2. Kirk Cousins and company looked miserable last week. This is going to show up on my rankings as well. Ryan Tannehill, 21 on the quarterback rankings. This is where your meat and potatoes is, though, is Derrick Henry. Number 8 on the running backs this week. We could see a splash of Darrington Evans, the rookie. He was out the first game. He was out the second game. Supposedly he's going to come back. He's questionable this week. A.J. Brown is the question, though. He's got a bone bruise on the knee. Right now he's questionable. I don't have a ranking for him because of that. I think they're going to lean on the side of keeping him out because Corey Davis has decided to show up. He's the number 30 ranked receiver on my rankings. And they finally started throwing a ball to Humphreys in the slot. Thank goodness. Number 35 on my rankings is Adam Humphreys. And John Smith is going to continue to get good looks and red zone looks. Number 5 tight end on my rankings. Over to Minnesota. Minnesota has the talent. They have everything they need. You know what they're missing? They're missing it. Tennessee has it. Minnesota needs it. Minnesota led by Kirk Cousins, number 27 on my rankings. They got a great running back here, though, in Dalvin Cook, number 6 on my rankings. Imagine that. He was in a contract year, and he got paid, and he's still performing. He's not hurt yet. If you're a Dalvin Cook owner, you might want to back that up and handicap Alexander Madison because you know it's only a matter of time. Adam Thielen, number 3 ranked wide receiver on my rankings. A drop-off after that, and Justin Jefferson, Van Jefferson, B.C. Johnson, etc. I can't trust any of those guys. And I'm going over to tight end. Kyle Rudolph, 35. Irv Smith, 30. Those are desperation plays at tight end. I'm not playing either one of those guys. I think Tennessee takes it and walks into Minnesota and gives it to the Vikings at home. I think Tennessee wins this game.
I don't think the clown in Stephen King said it as much as you did, and I love it. So I love it. There you go. So my Tennessee in this one, Ryan Tannehill, not the best week to play him in this one. I got him as a quarterback 2. If you got 2, put him out there. As your 1, I would say not this week. Derrick Henry worth the play. Corey Davis out of Western Michigan finally woke the truck up. And so hopefully that'll continue in this matchup. I have him as a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end 3, and a flex player for you. Jonnu Smith, not a bad day to put him out there, as I believe that he is, the best bet and the only bet, in my opinion, that you have in Tennessee as of right now. So I like that on that side. On the other side of it for Minnesota, Dalvin Cook, you got to play him. Alexander Madison, he's somebody that I've had on my bench, hasn't done too much. He's somebody you can look to as a handcuff to keep out there, just have on your bench, but not put out there to play as of right now. Kirk Cousins is a quarterback, too, this week. Everything lies with Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen, and that's, the tight ends I'm not sold on in Minnesota either. I'm going to go with Tennessee in this matchup. I think Tennessee is going to be 3-0, and I think the next time they see Jacksonville is going to be a fun one because it's going to be in Jacksonville, but definitely a fantastic game that we saw between Tennessee and Jacks. 33-30 went to Tennessee. This game may be a little bit lower scoring for the Vikings. I think Tennessee could still pour it on, and even though they're on the road, and I don't necessarily like going into Minnesota, I think Tennessee's good enough to get the dub. Mike, the next one up on the docket that we have here inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, with indoor and outdoor dining. And if you like curbside pickup, takeout, or delivery, you can call 315-487-2222. The next one we have up here in the Fantasy Football Power Hour, brought to you by the Wildcat, the Las Vegas Raiders, who are 2-0, winning their first game as a Las Vegas team on the road at Carolina, coming home and winning inside of their spaceship in a huge Monday night game over the New Orleans Saints, which some people think will make the Super Bowl this year. Now they pull the Patriots on the road without Tom Brady, still with Bill Belichick, and Cam Newton, who hasn't done too shabby, and I'm not surprised. What do you think about the Vegas 2-0 Raiders going up against the New England Patriots?
Look, a few years ago, many years ago actually, there was a song, I don't know who sung it, I'm not going to sing it, but the first couple words are, back to life, back to reality. Look, they're leaving the Death Star, and that was a great victory at the Death Star Monday night. Way to open that field up. But Derek Carr, my friend, you can't come out at the presser and say, oh, I love this team, and I love Vegas, and I'm a Raider for life, and I'm never going to play for anyone else. You may not have a say in that with the quarterback collector as your coach in Gruden. Settle down there, Derek Carr. Do your job. Right now, you haven't done your job. You got 2 guys playing on this team, and you're not one of them. Yeah, you're managing the game, and yeah, you did what you had to do to win the game, but you're number 28 on my rankings this week. Don't go out saying stuff like, I'm never going to play anywhere else. I guarantee you in a few years we're going to see that.
Mike, can you hear that? Can you hear that right now? Wait for it.
Yeah.
You want to know who sings that? That is Soul to Soul. So Mike bringing up a song that I listened to as a kid, so I had to give it a shout-out. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But I just want,
that's great.
Since you didn't want to sing it, I wanted Soul to Soul to sing it for us. So now I got to get it off here before Facebook gets me at that. I think I can only play a couple seconds before they freak out on me and throw me in jail. So,
just a sample.
Just a sample, just a taste, just to see what it's like. We'll go back to the Vegas Raiders and the New England Patriots. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Derek Carr, number 28 on my rankings this week. One of the two guys that is playing on his team is on pace for over 400 touches, which is abuse in some people's mind's eye. I think as long as he keeps going, you keep giving it to him. Josh Jacobs, number 5 on my rankings. And Darren Waller, this offense seems to revolve around him. 16 targets on Monday night at the Death Star. Number 2 on my rankings this week. I think that's going to continue. With Henry Ruggs dinged up, Bryan Edwards not showing up, none of the receivers really showing up. I'm not going to play any of those guys. They're all ranked in the 50s and 60s and up on my ranking. I'm going over to New England, though. Cam Newton. You know, week 1, he looked like a tremendous running threat at Miami. And then last week at Seattle, he could pass the ball a little bit. I like Cam Newton. I think Bill Belichick is a genius. He gets the max out of every player. He looks at the player, he sees what they do well, and he puts his players in a position to be successful. He's an excellent coach, and that's why he's won many Super Bowls. Cam Newton, number 3 quarterback on my ranking this week. No real running back on my ranking because you never know who it's going to be. It's going to be Sony Michel. I think James White will be back this week. Are they going to continue to try to get J.J. Taylor involved, the rookie? Are we going to see more Rex Taylor, listen to me, Rex Burkhead. I don't even know who Rex Taylor is. Julian Edelman, number 13 ranked wide receiver on my rankings. N'Keal Harry, he's finally waking up as well. They got the smelling salts to him. Number 36 on my rankings for wide receivers. Are we going to see some more Devin Asiasi? Jury's still out, so no real tight end you could play. Not Ryan Izzo from New England. I'm going to give New England the edge in this game by a touchdown at home.
And that coming from Mike Tortora, and I'm Dan Sofka, if we're going off of what Mike's doing right now. But we're having some fun here this morning. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us and having a good time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So with all that being said, and as we have the opportunity to, hang out with you here and talk about some things, Mike's talking about the Death Star in Vegas. Well, if the Death Star's in Vegas, what does that mean for Darth Vader himself, Bill Belichick? I mean, the Death Star is his. Is he coming to take it? Well, he's not going to have to because he's playing at home, but Death Star on one side, Darth Vader on the other side, Darth Belichick. I'm going to lean on him, Mike, and I'm going to agree with you on this, and I think you're right on this one. It's hard to believe that the Raiders, as hot as they've been these first couple weeks, could lose a game, and with talent like Josh Jacobs. But guess what? The Raiders are playing the Patriots, and if anybody's going to spoil you, it's the Patriots. And if it's tough to play in certain places, it's Foxborough. So I'm going to give a little bit of the edge to the Patriots, because if anybody's going to try to give you a shot of reality, it's Belichick. Who do you play on the Raiders? You play Josh Jacobs. Henry Ruggs, he's a flex guy right now. Darren Waller, low-end tight end 1 in this game. I don't think he's a bad play for you. If you got him as your number 1 tight end, go ahead and throw him out there. Hunter Renfrow, somebody to look at in the flex here. If you got to dig deep, maybe you got some injuries, maybe you got, you have to go to free agency or whatever it may be, the waiver wire, to get somebody like him, but that's something to look to. I think the most value lies in Josh Jacobs and Darren Waller on Vegas' side with a little bit to Henry Ruggs. On New England's side, it's Cam Newton. Who would leave Cam Newton out there? 30 franchises. Carolina, I'm not going to count him in it, of the 32, because they put him out there. But 30 other franchises left him out there. He got peanuts on the dollar to go to New England, and now he's winning. This is going to be a playoff team, folks. Mike and I told you this. They're going to get the last spot. They'll have that new wild card that's there at the 7th spot, and I wouldn't want to play him. I don't ever want to play New England as long as Bill Belichick is there. The team is 1-1, and Cam Newton's going to have himself a fun day in this one. Sony Michel is relegated to a running back 2 for me in this. Julian Edelman is worth the play. And N'Keal Harry, potential flex guy for you, in my opinion. I'm not totally sold on him yet, but that's where the value lies. The most value you're going to get in this game is Josh Jacobs and Cam Newton, and I will agree with Mike, and I will go with the Patriots to thwart this and for Darth Belichick to take back his Death Star in this game. And coming up, in right before we take a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, the next one that we have to do is our matchup that we have here in Week 3, and that is San Francisco playing at the New York Giants. Darn it if the Giants didn't luck out, Mike. San Francisco, if they have a couple more players go down, they might not be able to field a team to go to play the Giants. So the Giants are getting San Francisco on the East Coast, and they're getting San Francisco without the majority of their star players or some of their star players being hurt. George Kittle is questionable. Jimmy Garoppolo is questionable. Do the Giants have any hope in this game?
Yeah, they have some hope. They have some hope that Terp's going to continue to take down some San Fran players. I mean, it's ridiculous. Two of the top pass rushers in the league are totally gone right now from the team on San Fran in Bosa and Thomas. It speaks a lot for having all your eggs in one basket. Now, San Fran usually doesn't. They spread it out. But when it's spread out and you have 4 of your top 22 guys down, that's a problem. That's almost 20% of your team. Look, I think Nick Mullins is going to do a yeoman's job filling in. Garoppolo, I think, is going to be out for a little bit here. Raheem Mostert's got a sprained knee. He got an MCL sprain. We could see him this week. The jury's still out. I say hold him out, but they got Tevin Coleman probably going to be out as well. So Jerick McKinnon was a premium pickup this week. If you haven't gotten him yet and he's still out there, go grab him. Him and Mike Davis are two of the top ones you can get this week. I think you're going to put the ball in Jerick McKinnon's hands. I think they're going to throw him the ball. And we're going to see why Jerick McKinnon was asked to come to San Fran a couple years ago before he was subdued with injuries. He's number 12 on my rankings this week. Receivers where the problem is. Usually you say no problem. They got George Kittle. He's dinged up as well, too. He's questionable with a knee. I think if we see him this week, he's going to be a snap count type kind of guy, maybe even a decoy. I have him ranked 27 on my rankings this week if he plays. Jordan Reed ticked up a little higher, the old man at 30. As long as he's healthy, he's usually the injury guy. He's going to get it done. They're going to continue to target him, because that's what they do. They target the tight end because they have a pass-catching one in Kittle. Now they have another pass-catching one in Jordan Reed, number 18 on the ranking this week. Going over to the Giants. The Giants, Daniel Jones, number 24 on my rankings. Well, he doesn't have anybody to throw the ball to. Maybe Evan Ingram, number 17 on my tight end rankings. Darius Slayton, 41 on my wide receiver rankings for the Giants. No real Giants receivers are going to be playing. It looks like Golden Tate's dinged up. Sterling Shepard's dinged up. Dion Lewis, another good pickup. Let me tell you why. A lot of people think, they just signed Devonta Freeman. He's the guy. Not yet. It's going to take him a couple weeks to get up to speed. Wayne Gallman, he's got that same stuff. Wayne Gallman was a healthy scratch last week. How much are they going to count on him? The guy you wanted to target was Dion Lewis. Number 36 on my rankings, temper your expectation. Most people play PPR. He's the pass-catching guy. He can pass, block, and he's usually on the field. And he's going to be on the field because the Giants are going to be playing from behind with Saquon Barkley out. This is just a problem across the board. Dion Lewis is a little value for you. Evan Ingram's a value for you. I don't see any other value on the Giants. Even with San Fran missing their star players, I'm going to take them to win on the road here. San Fran 1-1, going to go to 2-1. The Giants going to go to 0-3. I like San Fran.
Yeah, I mean, it says something when you and I both pick San Fran, even though the Giants are in a better situation than mostly anybody that would ever have to go up against the 49ers. But that tells you what we think about the Giants and their ability this season. Mike, quick question here. With Saquon having the injury he does, I know people freak out in letting him off their team. Do you let Saquon off your team? What do you do with him? Do you stash him and just hope for the best, even though the injury and what it is? What do you do when you have a guy like that and a name like that and people are afraid to let him off the roster?
Yeah, an ACL injury is catastrophic. It's a 9 to 16 month process. The guy who got off it quicker was Adrian Peterson. I doubted him when he came back, but I forgot Adrian Peterson wears the real S on his chest, not the fake one like Cam Newton. So I think you got to give him a year. I mean, this may linger, and this may take him, this may knock him down a few pegs next year. So, yeah, if you're in a redraft league, you're definitely letting him go. If you're in a dynasty league, of course, you're putting him on injury reserve. But, yeah, you're not going to get any value from him at all this year. Once you tear your ACL, you're pretty much done for the year.
And the irony that we have here is that the players that San Francisco has to lean on are typically the players that are on the injury report. Jordan Reed and Jerick McKinnon. So there's a lot. The irony of this is insane, seeing that Jerick McKinnon's a guy who tore his ACL, a couple of years ago. God willing, he's healthy throughout the season. Jordan Reed gets hurt every single year, and he left Washington to come to San Francisco. The irony of that those are the people you're leaning on. I don't feel good about anybody right now on San Francisco's team, except for their defense and special teams. Even without Richard Sherman and Nick Bosa, I'm sure they'll do something and get some points there. This is the week where you pick up their kicker. This is the week where you consider their defense and their special teams. I'm not a big fan of anybody out there. Kendrick Bourne is supposed to be one of their main receivers this week, and Brandon Ayuk as well. So I don't feel good about anything in San Fran except for the defense and special teams as well as their kicker. On the Giants side of things, it's funny on the depth chart I'm looking at, they have Dion Lewis as the second string. The first string running back for the Giants, they have a dash. They're like, we're not going to put anybody here. We're just gonna leave a dash there. We feel better about the dash than we feel about putting a name there. Darius Slayton is out there for the team and whatnot. There's really not a lot of fantasy value in this game to me, unless you're going for San Fran's defense and special teams and their kicker. Outside of that, maybe an Evan Engram, but that's all I see in this game. I'm going to pick San Francisco. I think they could do enough, kick enough field goals, and get out of this one with a victory. But this is going to be an ugly game that, unfortunately, people in Syracuse are going to have to watch if you don't have the Sunday NFL ticket, because the games that are on television are always the Giants, the Jets, and the Bills. You could come to the Wildcat Sports Pub, though, and see whatever game you want, whenever you want, or whatever Sunday you want. So make sure you definitely come out for that. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When Mike and I come back, we're going to rapid fire this thing a little bit quicker, get you through the rest of your games for week number 3, and get you set and on your way right here inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. It is a fantastic place to go to, and if you're looking for curbside pickup, takeout, or delivery for your games that you're going to be watching at home, maybe you do have DirecTV, maybe you do have the ticket. If you do, don't keep yourself from having fantastic food from a fantastic local business. Call 315-487-2222. We'll be back inside of the Cafe Coupal Studios right after this.
Avicoli's Restaurant, located right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road, is proud to be your local neighbor, growing with you for over 20 years. We're open 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks. For takeout, delivery, or catering, call us at 315-622-5100. When you order online and use our promo code AVS10, you will save 10% on your online purchase at myavicolis.com. And make sure to join us monthly for our live, on-site broadcasts centered around Liverpool athletics. Avicoli's, your local, trusted neighbor right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to K9 Campground.
Trapper's Pizza Pub, located on 5950 Butternut Drive in East Syracuse. Right off of Bridge Street is your local community supporter right around the corner. Join us on site at Trapper's Pizza Pub for our live monthly broadcast supporting Central New York student athletes and their sports programs. Call 315-438-4444 for more information. And find us on Facebook and Instagram at Trapper's Pizza Pub. Trapper's Pizza Pub, your local community supporter, right around the corner.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. I want to send my prayers and my condolences to Gail Sayers' family, all of Gail's loved ones, as well as, to Gail in heaven. And, I hope that I hope your spirit didn't have to wait a second to get up there and to get back to the promised land. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're safe and sound. The NFL released a statement that was sent over, and I'd like to read it. So, Gail Sayers passing away. This is from the NFL Commissioner, Roger Goodell. The NFL family lost a true friend today with the passing of Gail Sayers. Gail was one of the finest men, and I want to make sure that we get us set up here so you can see us here. So, the NFL lost a true friend today with the passing of Gail Sayers. Gail was one of the finest men in NFL history and one of the game's most exciting players. Gail was an electrifying and elusive runner who thrilled fans every time he touched the ball. He earned his place as a first-ballot Hall of Famer. We will also forever remember Gail for his inspiration and kindness. Gail's quiet, unassuming demeanor belied his determination, competitiveness, and compassion. We send our heartfelt condolences to his wife, Artie, and their family. Our thoughts are with his teammates, the Bears organization, the many fans who remember him as a football player, and the many more people who were touched by Gail's spirit and generosity. Gail, I hope you're looking down at us, enjoying a fantastic seat from the best stadium in the house, best seat in the house, best place anywhere. I hope you're doing well up in heaven. And to your wife, Artie, and to all of your loved ones and your teammates, I pray and I hope for them to have peace, for them to have safety and positivity, and for them to be aided through this very, very tough time. My prayers and my hopes go out to everybody. My love goes out to everyone. And Gail, thank you for being a part of this planet and for all the good that you brought to it. Mike, any words you want to say on Gail Sayers?
Yeah, it's sad, you see this, and it's part of life. It's part of getting older. You see, your heroes. You see the people you looked up to. You see the people that played the game you love and made you love the game. And then Gail Sayers. Now, this is before a lot of people's times. A lot of people are like, who? If you haven't seen the movie Brian's Song, go see that. Billy D. Williams plays Gail Sayers, and James Caan is wonderful. It's about the relationship and this was still a thing with the black and white thing. There weren't a lot of black players in the NFL, and the relationship with a black and white player rooming together and getting along and hanging out as friends, this was all new to a lot of people. So, if nothing else, you saw his dynamic play on the field. You can still see, you go to NFL films, he was a dynamic player and an excellent guy on and off the field. So, again, condolences to the family, but this is life. People have to die someday, and this is what it is. It's just unfortunate when people you look up to or people that you really admire go.
So our best and our warmest prayers to Gail. May your spirit forever live on. The games that we're getting into now, Mike, as we continue here in column number 2, the Bengals at the Eagles. What do you have for this?
Yeah, Joe Burrow, he continues to impress. He doesn't do a lot to totally blow everybody out, but he's still a rookie. But his command of the offense, his ability to get things done, and the Eagles have been struggling. Now, both teams have been struggling. They're both 0-2. Don't get me wrong. Your number one thing you can do as a quarterback is make first downs, which are going to enable you to win the game. Joe Burrow's capable of doing that and running this offense. He's like a veteran voice on the field. Joe Burrow, number 10 ranked quarterback on my rankings, because I think Philadelphia is just a mess on both sides of the ball. We'll get to that in a minute. Joe Mixon, number 20 on the running back rankings. Giovanni Bernard, a distant 52. A.J. Green, 23, and Tyler Boyd, 26. And Drew Sample, 28 on my rankings. These are your value plays. This is where you're going to make your money. These are the low-end guys that you want to play as far as a wide receiver 3 or a flex-type guy. Go. You ask what's wrong with Carson Wentz. Well, he's got some talent around him, and part of that talent's going to be back. I think what's wrong with Carson Wentz is Miles Sanders hasn't been around. But that offensive line is pitiful. Their defense has question marks all over it. I'm going to give Carson Wentz a number 14 ranking because I think Cincinnati's going to put up some points and pick up the pace, and they're going to be forced to pick up the pace. So Carson Wentz, number 14 ranked quarterback. Miles Sanders, number 3 ranked running back. Welcome back, Miles Sanders. Even with a banged-up offensive line, Miles Sanders is Saquon Barkley Jr., followed in his footsteps at Penn State, follows in his leaping abilities in the NFL. Number 3 ranked running back on the rankings this week. Wide receiver, Deshaun Jackson, number 32, and Jalen Reagor is a distant 72, so you can't count on those guys. The one receiver you can count on, and I should say 2 receivers, are Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz, number 10 on my ranking this week. Dallas Goedert, if he plays, dinged up a little bit, but you know what? I'm still going to give him the higher ranking than Ertz because he's more of the red zone threat. Number 4 on my rankings this week. There's some good money plays on Philadelphia's side. I got this game in a shootout. Philadelphia's favored to win this game. I'm going to have to give them this game at home. And with the welcoming back of Miles Sanders, I think he's going to make the difference in this game. I'm going to take Philly.
Yeah, I think if you took Miles Sanders out of this game and took it away from Philadelphia, we could be saying Cincinnati in this one. Cincinnati, a heck of an effort. Ton of fantasy points for Joe Burrow, who's on one of my teams here. And big shout-out to him. I thought he was going to get his first win because, I like I said before, it doesn't matter who the coaches are and who the quarterbacks are. When Cincinnati plays up against Cleveland, they score in the 30s, and it's a shootout. And it was exactly that, 35-30 in a shootout. And I thought that he'd get the edge, but came up just a little bit short. And you can thank Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt for stuff like for a game like that and a situation like that not working out. But Joe Burrow, a fantastic job in the game, and really look like he's looking to lead this team and lead them sooner than later. So good to see something like that. Jermaine says, good morning to you, sir. So, in this one, I'm going to agree with Mike because it's in Philly, because Miles Sanders is back. Here's the thing. Miles is back. Saquon is gone for the year. So you call him Saquon Jr. They both played at Penn State. 1-2 punch when Saquon left for the NFL. Miles Sanders took over. Now Miles is there. So for those of you like me that drafted them both, you can be happy that you at least have 50% of that duo still out there on your team and hopefully continue to be out there this whole season. This play, Cincinnati for Joe Burrow this week, he's a quarterback 2 for me in this matchup. Joe Mixon is worth the play. A.J. Green, to me, is a flex guy. I don't really trust in him. T. Higgins, and I would look at T. Higgins and A.J. Green as low-end 2s, high-end 3s in the matchup. But I would say Joe Burrow is somebody to not take off your roster by any stretch of the imagination. I like Joe Mixon on one side. On the other side, I do like Carson Wentz in this matchup. Miles Sanders is worth the play. Boston Scott is a flex if you have a lot of injuries going on. Deshaun Jackson, not completely sold on him, but he's playing Cincinnati. Him and Jalen Reagor, potentially to put out there as flex guys. Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert in this matchup. I like either one of them, and I think they both have the opportunity to score. So I would say I'm comfortable with either one of the tight ends, definitely with Miles Sanders in the game, and Carson Wentz, the win going to Philadelphia. Next then, one that we have up here is Mike and I will rapid-fire this a little bit more and go through these a little bit quicker for you as we want to make sure we get to every single game. Houston at Pittsburgh, Mike. What do you have for this?
Yeah, one team 0-2, one team 2-0. The home team is 2-0 in Pittsburgh, and I like them a little bit more than Houston. Houston, we have a problem. You look at Houston, and you're like, what is wrong here? They have the pieces, they have the players. David Johnson's been playing a lot better than people thought. Number 16 ranked running back on my rankings. Deshaun Watson seems to have fallen off the map once DeAndre Hopkins is gone. And we'll get into DeAndre Hopkins when we talk about the Cardinals, but you're starting to see how valuable he was to the team. Brandon Cooks has been dinged up, slowly coming back. Will Fuller's normally the guy until he gets hurt. Those guys are ranked in the 40s and 50s, so I'm not even considering those guys. I am considering Jordan Akins, especially if I'm in a touchdown-only league. Jordan Akins seems to be a touchdown threat, the red zone threat, number 22 on a tight end rankings. Deshaun Watson is going to get number 12 on my rankings, but the money's on the other side of the ball. The money's with Pittsburgh. Ben Roethlisberger, number 13 on my rankings. James Conner should be back, number 15 on the rankings. Benny Snell's still going to get some looks, but he's a stretch play for the flex for you, ranked at 69 on my ranking this week. I'll tell you what, Juju Smith-Schuster looks great, 17 on my rankings, and I like Deontay Johnson. He's stepping up as well. And watch out for continued growth from a Chase Claypool. He was way up there on the top of the adjusted explosive index I put out every year. I like the home team in this. I like the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Steelers as well in this matchup, Mike. I feel like with a healthy Ben Roethlisberger, this team is showing what they can do. You can lose some talent at running back at times. You can lose some talent at wide receiver at times. But as long as you have Big Ben, somebody's going to get something. And you couldn't afford to lose him. They saw that last season. If they didn't know it, they know it now. And that's not to take away from any of the talent at running back or wide receiver. It's just to say that losing Big Ben has more of an effect than some of these other guys because they have depth at these positions, especially at running back. For Houston, Deshaun Watson, not a huge fan with him in this game. I know people are high on him, but Mike and I spoke about it and the issue that you have when you get rid of DeAndre Hopkins. He's looking like DeAndre Hopkins in Arizona, and Houston is not looking good without him. They're 0-2. They definitely have a problem. Will Fuller, the fifth. He's a low-end wide receiver 2. Deshaun Watson's a low-end quarterback 1. Playing Pittsburgh, if you have other guys, send us who you have on your roster, and we'll tell you if that's a better play for you this week. Not really sold on Deshaun because of the situation that they're in. You get rid of arguably the number 1 wide receiver in the country, and you bring in a running back who hasn't proven himself. David Johnson looked pretty good in Week 1 against Kansas City, but again, you bring in a running back when you get rid of your top wide receiver. It doesn't make sense. And so I'm not really sold on the wide receiver unit in Houston. Will Fuller, the fifth, like I said, he's a low-end 2 for me in this game. David Johnson, I don't think is worth the play in this game. Duke Johnson Jr., you haven't been able to rely on him for years, whether it was Cleveland or Houston. Deshaun Watson, a low-end 1 at quarterback because it's just not working out. And they're playing Pittsburgh, and they're playing them on the road. Big Ben's worth the play. James Conner's worth the play. Benny Snell is a sneaky flex. Juju is worth the play. Look at James Washington as a flex or Chase Claypool because they're playing Houston and Deontay Johnson is banged up a little bit. Those are your plays. That's what I think. Pittsburgh's got the value. Pittsburgh's got the victory. That's what I'm seeing in the grand scheme of things here. Next up on the docket, Mike, we have the Jets at the Colts. This looks like a very boring game on paper. But, the Colts are trying to get some things going. They're trying to wake up here with Phillip Rivers and company. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, my thoughts are, oof. You ever have that situation where you words can't describe how you're feeling about something? Oof.
Yeah, probably all the relationships I've had of recently, Mike. That's probably that situation.
Oof.
Yeah,
that's the Jets. Oof. That's this game. Oof. I'm looking at Sam Darnold. He's at the bottom of the list, number 32 ranked quarterback on my rankings. Frank Gore, God bless him, 156 years old, still running the ball. The lead running back for the Jets now. He's number 31 on my rankings. Look out for Michael Perrine. I'm not saying jump on him yet. Keep your eye on Michael Perrine. He's available everywhere. You're going to be able to get him, but just watch him. He's going to be able to jump into a game. He's been hurt the first couple games. Looking at the receivers, nothing. I don't know about Jamison Crowder or Perryman or their injury status. Chris Hogan, I can't play any of these guys. If somebody held a gun on my head, I got Chris Herndon at number 17 on the rankings this week. I'm not even sure I would play him then. Phillip Rivers, number 23 on my rankings. Your money's going to be made with the young stud, Jonathan Taylor. This guy's amazing. You knew it was going to only be a matter of time, and sure enough, Michael Mack went down. Taylor was able to supplant him and just take over that lead role, and he's the number 4 running back on my rankings. He's top 10 running back the rest of the year. T.Y. Hilton, struggling. Not sure he's going to continue to have a year, but I got him ranked 25 in this game because of the matchup. But watch his continual slide. He's a sell option if he's on your team. Hopefully you have an Indianapolis fan who will scoop him up for you. Paris Campbell probably out. Michael Pittman, number 56 on my rankings. Going over to tight end, Jack Doyle probably out a couple more weeks. Mo Alley Cox. Again, I had a piece on him several years ago with George Kittle. He's finally emerged. This is his opportunity. So even when Jack Doyle comes back, he's going to be able to give Indianapolis that 1-2 punch at tight end, both guys on the field at the same time. He's the number 14 ranked tight end on my rankings. I'm going to have Indianapolis whipping the Jets at home.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to be like Willow Smith and whip your hair back and forth. I mean, this is a situation that I don't see by any stretch of the imagination the Jets coming out of this one. I had the Jets as the number 32 ranked franchise of 32 NFL franchises when I did my NFL preseason power rankings this year with Papa Joe. And that was with Le'Veon Bell. Without Le'Veon Bell, I mean, they stay here. They stay exactly where they're at. I mean, maybe they're number 33. Maybe I find a way to put dirt above them. I don't know, because they look like they're falling 6 feet under right now. The New York Jets in this game, I'm going to make it easy for you. Who do you play? Nobody. On to the Colts, and I mean it. I mean, Mike said, if you put him in a situation where you had to play somebody, who would you put out there? That situation for me would have been Jamison Crowder, but he's banged up. So I can't tell you to play anybody on the Jets. On the other side of it, for the Indianapolis Colts, they're playing the Jets. So Phillip Rivers isn't a bad play. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor. Nyheim Hines is a perfect flex. T.Y. Hilton, and maybe a Mo Alley Cox, because I think he's going to have a good day with Jack Doyle banged up. I'm going with the Colts, and you're going to get some fantasy value from some people that you maybe not have expected because they're playing the Jets. And that is why you build up your bench for situations like this. And that is why sometimes you build up for just matchups when you don't know who to pick up and you have opportunities and openings on your bench. So there you go. Start them Colts this week, baby. Carolina at the Chargers. Mike, what do you have for this?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I like the Chargers a lot. I think they should have beat Kansas City at home. I like their defense. I like what they're able to put on the field as far as an offense. They just got to step it up a tiny bit more. Look, Justin Herbert, he stepped in last week minutes before kickoff, literally minutes. He did a fine job. He did a yeoman's job. He was a rookie, had some rookie mistakes, turned out the wrong way on a play action. Everybody saw that coming, so they weren't fooled. A couple other missteps, but he's a rookie, and that's going to happen. I think he continues to start. The coaches said that when Tyrod Taylor is healthy again, that Tyrod Taylor will be the starter, and I get that. You got to give Justin Herbert the time to grow, but this week he's number 16 on my rankings. I think Tyrod Taylor is still out. Austin Eckler, number 10 running back, and Joshua Kelly, the rookie. This is a guy who's going to continue to grow as well. He's going to give them that 1-2 punch. He's Joshua Kelly. He may be out there as a flex play for you. This week I got number 29 on my rankings. Keenan Allen's the money man at receiver, number 12 on my rankings. Mike Williams, everybody thought he was done. Everybody thought he was hurt and banged up and too banged up to play. He's number 43. He's going to continue to blossom in his offense. And I'm looking at Hunter Henry. That's the real value. Number 3 on my tight end rankings. Sliding over to Carolina, they miss McCaffrey. It's just what it is. The pickup of the week, Mike Davis. If for some reason he's still out there, go run right now. Stop what you're doing. Continue to listen to us. Continue to watch us. But go get Mike Davis right now. He's a plug-and-play type kind of guy. They're going to continue with the same game plan. He's number 23 on my rankings and climbing. Teddy Bridgewater, disappointment so far, but somewhat of a game manager. But he hasn't managed anything because he hasn't won anything. Number 29 quarterback on my rankings this week, but DJ Moore continues to impress. He's their weapon. He's the one weapon you can count on. Number 8 on the wide receiver rankings. Robbie Anderson has looked good. He shined. Number 27 on the wide receiver rankings. And Ian Thomas, a distant 36. I'm going to have to go with the Chargers because I just think they're the better team all the way around. You take the Chargers at home.
Yeah, I mean, in this game, I think that this is a tougher one. I know Teddy Bridgewater struggled a little bit, but I think that as good as the Chargers may be doing and some things that they have going on out there, at the same time, I don't count out Carolina, but they're without their number one weapon in Christian McCaffrey, and that is going to be a huge issue. And they have to travel to the West Coast. Now, I think that teams are potentially doing a little bit better there, so there is something to be said about that, but ultimately, Carolina, if they had Christian McCaffrey, I'd feel a little bit better about this one, even though they're traveling off to the West Coast because you have that dynamic player. You have the number one player in fantasy, but they don't have that right now. What they have right now is Mike Davis. What they have right now is a hope that they'll find a way to figure things out and do the best they can because they were still struggling with Christian McCaffrey on the team, and now that he's not there with them, what will they do? Carolina with Mike Davis, he is worth a play for you this week. I'm not trusting in the Chargers defense, so I would look at Mike Davis. I'd stay away from Teddy Bridgewater. I like Robbie Anderson more than DJ Moore. I put Robbie out there and DJ right behind him in my rankings. Ian Thomas, he's a tight end too for me right now is how I would look at it. And then Justin Herbert, if Tyrod Taylor, we look at where he's at right now. He's questionable for this game with a chest injury. If we see Justin Herbert go out there, I think we're going to see Justin Herbert get a win. He almost got one against Kansas City, down to the wire, where Harrison Butker kicked not one, not two, but 3 50-plus yard field goals back to back to back. Man, ice water in his veins. 53-yarder, they get called with a penalty, goes back to 58, kicks it, Chargers call a timeout, kicks it again from 58 to win the game, and every single one of those kicks looked pretty, so shout out to him on that. Justin Herbert, you can't do anything against a guy like Harrison Butker. You did a lot of good work in this game, and credit to you. If Herbert is in his game and you can play two quarterbacks, I would look at playing him in this matchup as your second quarterback option. I do see him as a low-end one in this matchup. There's a lot of other guys to play, but it's not a bad matchup for him to be in. Austin Eckler is worth the play. Josh Kelly as a sneaky flex because they're playing Carolina. And Keenan Allen and Mike Williams look to put them out there. Keenan first, then Mike Williams as a flex, in my opinion. Hunter Henry is worth the start in this one. As you know, that a rookie quarterback and a quarterback trying to get acclimated may go to their running back and tight end more than anybody else if they're in a disaster situation or if they're trying to get some nerves and some kinks out. I'm going to go with the Chargers in this matchup, but I feel like this could have been a closer game. Maybe it will be a closer game, but I'm going to pick the Chargers in this matchup. Mike and I are going to rock and roll through these, like I said, with a little more rapid fire here as we get set to get you ready for all of Week 3 in fantasy football. Mike, the next one up on the docket, Tampa Bay at Denver. What do you have for this?
Yeah, I think this is going to be an exciting game. I don't think a lot of people are going to see this game coming. I think this game's going to be more exciting than people think. I like Tom Brady, though, but not this much, not in this game. Even with a guy like Von Miller being out, you got to give that defense some credibility there in Denver. Tampa, Tom Brady, Tampa. You saw Brett Favre at the game wearing a Tom Brady Buccaneer shirt last week. Tom Brady, I'm still going to give him some respect. Number 20 ranked quarterback on my rankings. Leonard Fournette. Now, they're saying that Ronald Jones is still the starter. Yeah. And I got some ice water for you over here in this real hot day. Whatever. I'm telling you, Leonard Fournette's the guy. He's the goal line guy. He's going to emerge as the guy. They're going to continue to have faith and trust in him. He's going to be the guy. I would make a play for him. I would trade for him in some leagues, but chances are somebody's got him. They know what they got. Mike Evans, number 19 ranked wide receiver on my rankings. And Chris Godwin should be back this week. Number 15. I wouldn't trust any other receivers right now. I know people put a lot of faith in Scotty Miller. I did as well, especially with Tom Brady, giving him the affectionate nickname of Scooter. Look, Scooter didn't show up. I don't have a lot of room for Scooter on my roster anymore either. O.J. Howard, everybody said, Gronk. O.J. Howard asked for a trade. O.J. Howard's the guy to own. He's number 25 on my rankings. I think Gronk's only run 19 routes. He's been doing a lot of pass blocking. He's been doing a lot of run blocking, he does that well. But O.J. Howard's the guy, 25 on my rankings. Going over to Denver, I'm looking at Jeff Driscoll. That's right, Jeff Driscoll, the former Florida Gator, the former Cincinnati guy, taking over for Drew Lock. They just signed Blake Bortles as well, the UCF and Jacksonville Jaguar. But Jeff Driscoll's the guy, number 31, though, on the rankings. You can't count on him. You're going to be able to count on Melvin Gordon, and Melvin Gordon a lot more because Phillip Lindsay's dinged up. Melvin Gordon, number 14, running back on my rankings. Going over to wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy, number 30. Cortland Scott is out. So KJ Hamler, the rookie's been dinged up. He's going to get on the field. He's going to explode. He's going to be the guy out of the slot. He's going to be picking up some points. But again, patience with him. He's number 59 on my ranking right now for this game. And Noah Fant, right number 16 on my ranking. So there's your value plays for Denver. You got to go with Gordon. You got to go with Fant. Now, I know Denver, the climate's a little different. Tom Brady's 48 years old, 53 years old, however old he is over 40, 43. The air's a little thinner there. That defense can get to him. I don't think so. I think the Bucs are going to squeak one out on the road in a close one.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game because, Denver's banged up, but they're at home. So it's, where do you go in this matchup ultimately? But I'm going to give the edge to Tampa as well in this. I think there's just going to be enough from Tom Brady and company. Leonard Fournette, I picked him up, and then the Jaguars dropped him, and I thought to myself, what do I do? And I just held on a little bit, and I didn't do anything right away. Then he went to Tampa, and I said, well, he's going to get double-digit touchdowns. He was on my bench this past week, and I believe he had 46 points. I'm not going to let that happen again. So, the Buccaneers, you play Leonard Fournette. Tom Brady in this game, he's a quarterback too, in my opinion. But you play Leonard Fournette, you play Mike Evans, you play Chris Godwin in this matchup. O.J. Howard, I told you not to forget about him. Hopefully you listen to me. I like O.J. Howard and Rob Gronkowski. I don't forget about him either. If you can play two tight ends, not a bad look if you got Rob on your team to put him out there. Eventually he's going to get that look and that opportunity. Blake Bortles coming in could take this job eventually. Melvin Gordon, I don't trust him a lot in this game. I put him to a running back 3 because Tampa has a lot of firepower, and they know they obviously know that the quarterback situation is hurt in Denver. So if they stack the box, that's going to affect him, and Phillip Lindsay isn't there to help out Melvin Gordon. Royce Freeman is still there. Jerry Jeudy is a low-end wide receiver 2 for me this week, and Noah Fant, if Jeff Driscoll wants to go, and like I said, in an emergency situation where a guy that wasn't expected to be the starter, you go to your running back, you go to your tight end. Maybe he goes to Noah Fant. He's a tight end 2 for me, a low end 1 this week. The value is on the side of Tampa Bay. I think Leonard Fournette has the most value in this game, and I'm going to go with Tampa as well. Mike, we're right before the Sunday and Monday night games, so let's go through these ones. I know my resident Detroit Lions fan in Central New York is waiting for this one. The Detroit Lions at the Arizona Cardinals. What do you have for this?
I can't wait for Detroit to play the Jets. They're both, oh my goodness. The coach is definitely on a hot seat, Matt Patricia. I don't know what's going on in Detroit. I don't think they know what's going on. I think they got a couple players that you can count on. One of them is Matt Stafford, number 15 on my rankings this week. They're going to have to throw the ball. Adrian Peterson, 38. Deandre Swift, number 30 on my rankings this week. He's the guy. He's going to continue to blossom. Some owners may have given up on him already because of the timeshare situation. Watch out for that. Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones, 31 and 38 respectively on my ranking, and the value is going to be on the red zone threat and T.J. Hawkinson. So look for the stack of Stafford to Hawkinson. I'm looking at the other side of the ball here, and this is where the true value is. This is where the money is. This is where if you're playing daily, you take these two guys and you build your team around them. Number 1 quarterback on my rankings this week from Arizona, Kyler Murray. Number 1 receiver on my rankings this week in DeAndre Hopkins. Get those guys on your daily team. If you have those guys on your redraft team, I don't need to tell you what to do. Start them as usual. Kenyon Drake, number 13, running back. Chase Edmonds distant guy for an emergency flex. He's more of a handcuff guy still, but he's going to get some touches. Larry Fitzgerald, number 51 on my ranking this week, and Dan Arnold, the tight end for Arizona, number 29. I think you're going to see a lot of Kyler Murray. I think you're going to see a lot of DeAndre Hopkins, and I think you're going to see a lot of numbers next to Arizona's name on the scoreboard, and not so much for Detroit. I'm taking the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm taking the Cardinals in this one as well, and this will be a game where Detroit makes it go to a field goal 33-30 because they're counted out. You know, this is one of those games where they'll make it interesting somehow, some way. They'll score some points, but, you know, like you said, Matt Stafford's going to have to throw the ball. Somebody asked us a question, should they play Matt Stafford or should they play Ryan Tannehill? I told them Matt Stafford in this game situation. So I don't go against that. I think he's a quarterback too, but if it's between him and Tannehill, you play him. Kerryon Johnson and DeAndre Swift and Adrian Peterson all splitting time. Eventually, I think DeAndre is going to get the majority of the carries. I do agree with that. I don't think it's a bad day to put him out there. I just wouldn't expect him to be your top guy. Kenny Galladay is injured right now and questionable with a hamstring injury. That gives more value to Marvin Jones Jr. He is somebody you could put out there as a flex, but I'm not too sold on him. The value lies on the side of Arizona. Kyler Murray, Kenyon Drake, DeAndre Hopkins, potentially a Christian Kirk as a flex or wide receiver 3, or a Larry Fitzgerald because of who they're playing. I would look to that to be positives for you. I do think that Detroit's going to score more points than we anticipate, but I think the value is going to be on the side fantasy-wise of the Cardinals, and they'll get the victory. Mike, final one before we take our last step aside. Dallas Cowboys at the Seattle Seahawks. Dallas coming off a 40-39 last-second win with an onside kick that proved the fact that you can score, get an onside kick, and kick a field goal, even though Dino Babers of Syracuse didn't believe that with 3:03 left in all 3 of his timeouts. Maybe Mike McCarthy should sit down with Dino Babers. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, Dallas got lucky last week, and the luck went against them the previous week. In close games, Dallas hasn't performed well going back to last year. 7 points or less, they're losing games. That's the difference between winning and losing. The game is a game of inches. It's a game of, the little things. And those little things like that onside kick you saw added up. I think they're going to continue to put up some fantasy numbers. I just worry about them as a team. Dak Prescott, number 5 quarterback on my ranking this week. Ezekiel Elliott, number 2, and Amari Cooper, number 4. You say, Mike, how are they going to lose the game? You got those guys, the top 3, all ranked in the top 5. Well, the challenges are some of these other guys haven't stepped up as much as they need to. Blake Jarwin's out with an injury. Dalton Schultz showed up. He's the number 19 tight end on my rankings. To go along with that number 4 for Amari Cooper, though, you got CeeDee Lamb at 28 and Michael Gallup at 34. But it's the little things. The little things are like going into Seattle. Now, I realize Seattle doesn't have that 12th man. They don't have people in the stands like they used to. They don't have that volume, even when they pump in that artificial noise. What they do have is a winner in Russell Wilson. Wins on every side of the ball, wins in whatever he does. I like this cat, number 4 on my quarterback rankings. Chris Carson, going to continue to dominate the run touches. Number 9 on the running back. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, number 10 and number 11, respectively, on my rankings. And Greg Olsen, the old man with the injured foot, number 28 on the tight end rankings. I like Seattle over the Cowboys in this. The Cowboys just make me shrug my shoulders as a team. They got the talent. They just usually don't have it in those tight games. This is going to be a tight one. I'm going to take Seattle at home.
It's funny, Mike and I, in the first 13 games that we spoke about here for Week 3, we have agreed on every single game. So we're either going to be 13-0 or 0-13 or something of that matter within all of that. We're either going to win them all, lose them all, whatever it's going to be, or we're going to win some, lose some, but we're going to have the same record through the first 13 games that we spoke about because we went the same. This one, we are not. I'm picking the Dallas Cowboys. If they can go in a shootout with Atlanta, I believe they could go in a shootout with Seattle. And not having to play up against those fans is obviously a little bit different here. So I like the fact that the Dallas Cowboys, I believe, can get this victory. I like Dak in the game. I like Zeke. I like CeeDee Lamb in this game as a flex. Michael Gallup is a low-end 2. Amari Cooper still is a 1, but a low-end 1. Dalton Schultz, if you got 2 tight ends, but if you have 1, he's not the guy I'd be putting out there. Russell Wilson, Chris Carson, DK Metcalf, then Tyler Lockett. Maybe some love for Greg Olsen in a 2 tight end situation. Value on both sides. Value at quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, and running back on both of these teams. A lot of good value for a really good game at 4:25 p.m., which I believe is going to be played on Fox, I would imagine. And you should definitely be watching this one. I was watching that Atlanta Falcons game and Dallas Cowboy game last week. Great game, 40-39, 79 points scored between the two. I got Dallas winning. First game that Mike and I differed on this week. And we never know what the other person's going to pick until the moment that we pick it live with you inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour. So we did not know that we were going to be 13 together and now one separate. We have Sunday and Monday night right after this fast break where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So stay with us right here as we will wrap up this week and this edition of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, for indoor and outdoor dining and for curbside pickup, takeout, and delivery. You can call them at 315-487-2222.
Cafe Cabal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecabal.com. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, is home to over 40 flavors with more than 200 flavors in their total wheelhouse. Sky's the limit for this sweet and savory Central New York company. Keep it local at your parties, fundraisers, wedding showers, baby showers, and more by calling 315-450-MA-PA. That's 315-450-6272 for popcorn bars with custom flavors and colors at your upcoming event. Make sure to visit them on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for more information, go to maandpazsnacks.com. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make your way out to the Millhouse Market, but make sure you download the app before you go on the Google Play or Apple App Store. As soon as you have that app, you have everything at your fingertips. Their breakfast menu, obviously, in the mornings, and all day long you have their coffee and beverage menu, as well as their homemade desserts, homemade breads, their salads with their homemade dressings, their rice bowls and quinoa bowls, as well as all of their sandwiches and their brick oven pizzas. There is something for everybody at the Millhouse Market, and there are combinations and concoctions and things that they came up with in the lab led by Rebecca Elford and her team that are some of the things that I would have never thought of, but I'm so happy that she did. Some of my favorites are things that would have never come to my mind. The steak and blue, absolutely amazing, as well as the bee sting pizza. Go out and get yours today. The sandwiches are named after the families that helped to settle what is today's Pulaski. They're ingrained in the community. They're here for us, and their app gives you contactless pay and an easy way to drive up in your car right to their window, pick up your food, and go without even having to get out of your vehicle. They make it so easy, safe, affordable, and fantastic. The Millhouse Market, whether it's a mile or 30 miles away, I can tell you with utter certainty from all the times I've done it, they are worth the drive every time. 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. With that being said, Mike and I are here finishing up inside of the Cafe Kubal studios with the Fantasy Football Power Hour. It's week 3 of the 2020-2021 season. I want to thank God above everything else that the games are being played and there's even a season to talk about. With that being said, Mike and I are going into Sunday and Monday Night Football in the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub. Next on the docket, Mr. Sofka, and our second to last game to talk about is, of course, that Sunday night matchup where we will see another primetime game for New Orleans, but New Orleans fans are hoping for a different outcome. Green Bay at New Orleans. What do you have for this?
Yeah, chances are you're going to have some guys in your lineups, on your roster playing in this game. This is the Clash of the Titans. Clash of the Titans, you got Aaron Rodgers on one side and Drew Brees on the other. They're having the opposite year for each of them. Looks like Drew Brees isn't Drew Brees anymore. I'll get to that in a minute. But first off, Green Bay, the visiting team, 2-0 going into New Orleans. Aaron Rodgers, 19 on my quarterback rankings this week. They're led by Aaron Jones. A lot of people thought A.J. Dillon was creeping on Aaron Jones, going to affect him, going to get some of his touches. Aaron Jones has stepped his game up. He's wearing the bright gold, custom-made Oakleys on the sideline. He's living it up, and he is their offense. He's their power. He's their pass catcher out of the backfield. He's the power runner. He's having a heck of a year. Again, ranked number 7 on my rankings. And Davante Adams, arguably one of the best wide receivers in the league. Davante Adams ranked number 2 on my rankings this week. Unfortunately, I can't rank Alan Lazard or Marcus Valdez-Scantling. Tight end-wise, the name I want you to watch, and I want you to play this guy yet, Robert Tonyan. He seems to be the guy that's taken over at the tight end spot, not Jay Sternberger like we thought. Going over to New Orleans, you got Drew Brees, about the same ranking, number 17 on my ranking. Alvin Kamara, arguably the number 1 fantasy and the number 1 player in the NFL. Still, Alvin Kamara, number 1 on my running back rankings this week. I'm not going to get any of the other running backs any love here. Michael Thomas is out. Emmanuel Sanders and Traquan Smith need to step it up. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. Both ranked in the mid to high 40s. And Jared Cook, number 6 ranked tight end. Look, there's question marks on Drew Brees, but it's still Drew Brees. He can be the game manager. They're saying he can't get the ball downfield. That's why one of those receivers need to step it up. Look for the dink and dunk to continue. Look for the value in the tight end on New Orleans, Jared Cook. I still think, even with the firepower on the other side of the ball in Green Bay, and even though Green Bay's 2-0 and the Saints are 1-1, you got to take New Orleans at home, with or without the crowd. I'm going to take New Orleans and Drew Brees at home.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting and hopeful high-scoring game for fantasy. You know, I like Aaron Rodgers in the game. Aaron Jones, if he keeps doing good stuff, I may have to start giving you some credit, young man. I mean, I'm waiting. But we'll see. If Davante Adams is good to go with a hamstring injury, he's worth putting out there. That's where your value is, and your 1, 2, 3 on one side. And then I would say, you know, as far as Alan Lazard and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, they're lower-end flexes right now. Drew Brees worth the play. Taysom Hill worth the flex if you have to have a flex and you're digging deep a little bit. They do try to work him into the offense. You don't know if he's going to score or not, but we know that he gets an opportunity at times. Sometimes it's not a lot. He only had 2 touches against the Raiders, so that's why you have to temper your expectations of that. Ty Montgomery, who used to be a Packers on the team, but the values in Alvin Kamara on the team, Emmanuel Sanders and Traquan Smith, can't write home about them. I would say Jared Cook as a low-end tight end 1, but your biggest value is Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara. You're going to say the Saints at home. I'm going to say the Packers on the road. So Mike and I are going to differ on this one as well. The last game that we have to talk about is the game that I would have loved to be a Super Bowl, but it can't be because they're both on the same side. But we get to see this little mini Super Bowl in only week 3 of the season, which is a giant gift so early on. Kansas City at Baltimore, Mike. What do you have for this?
Well, we had a oof game, and we had a couple oof teams. This is the ooh-wee game. I am excited to watch this one. Monday night, get your ma and pa's kettle corn popcorn ready. This is going to be a show. This is going to be awesome. KC at Baltimore. 2 of the best teams. 2 teams everyone would like to see in the Super Bowl. Let's get into it. Lamar Jackson, number 2 ranked quarterback on my rankings this week. Look, Mark Ingram seems to be fading away as J.K. Dobbins takes some touches from him. And Gus Edwards getting involved last week. Mark Ingram, number 27 on my rankings. J.K. Dobbins, number 58. I would still try to figure out a way to find room for him as a flex in my lineup. J.K. Dobbins, that is, because he's lightning. He can break one at any time. Hollywood Brown, number 21 ranked receiver on my rankings. No one else to speak of. Maybe a Willie Snead emergency situation. Mark Andrews is the bread and butter there. Number 7 tight end on my ranking. Everybody knows these cats on KC. Everybody knows you play all these guys. Patrick Mahomes, number 7 on the quarterback rankings. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, number 11 on the running back rankings. He can run the ball. He can catch the ball. He can block. He can do it all. He can break away. He can run between the tackles. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Tyreek Hill, still the magic man of the team, though. Number 6 on the wide receiver rankings. I can't really rank Sammy Watkins or McCole Hardman or anybody, but I can tell you Travis Kelce's the number one tight end on my rankings this week. He's usually up there. He's the steady Eddie. He's what helps Patrick Mahomes keep this offense moving. I'm going to have to go with KC in this game going into Baltimore. I know KC narrowly escaped against the Chargers, but Baltimore's a good team, and everybody's going to take Baltimore. That's why I'm going to take KC.
Yeah, this is going to be a good game. Pat Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, as well as Tyreek Hill, all worth the play for you. Travis Kelce in this matchup. Demarcus Robinson, McCole Hardman could be used in a flex situation for you because they're going to have to work the ball around. Lamar Jackson on the other side for Baltimore. Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins. I like J.K. Dobbins. I think he'll hopefully improve as the season goes on. Could see some more. Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown, all worth the play. I'm going to go with Kansas City as well. Fantastic game, fantastic time with Mike as always. Mike, thank you so much, and I look forward to talking with you very soon.
Sounds good, Dan. I'll talk to you next time.
Take care. HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com. Go there and get some help from Mike Sofka during the season to help you improve and pay for those opportunities to have him help you out. And he has some great opportunities there on the website, as well as join us right here on Facebook for our group Winning Fantasy Football. And you can join that group very easily by just going to the Facebook search bar and typing in Winning Fantasy Football. Join us for free. Want to thank my first hour with Julian Wiggum with the Midweek Blitz, talking about Syracuse and overall college football in the first hour every Wednesday. And in the second hour and then some, speaking about fantasy football this week with Week 3. Thank you so much to Mike Sofka of HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com. Go to MonPazPopcorn.com with the online promo code DT20. Doesn't matter where you live, you get 20% off your online order, so make sure you do that. Thanks to Cafe Cubal, Carvel DeWitt, Wildcat Sports Pub, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, MonPazPopcorn.com, Avicoli's, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Honda City of Liverpool, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Trapper's Pizza Pub, the Millhouse Market, and our beverages of choice, Coca-Cola, as well as Reign, Monster Energy, and Body Armor. Have yourself a terrific day. We'll see you on Thursday. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. We did it. Inside of the Cafe Cubal Studios. Stay close to our social media. I'll be announcing what that special drink is that I've been drinking all morning here. And as always, God bless. No stress. Do your best.